Hey there, have you ever been reading something and just gotten completely tripped up by a word? You know, one that looks familiar but means something totally different? Or maybe one that sounds exactly like another word but is spelled in a completely different way? Yeah, language can feel like a total puzzle box sometimes. But don't worry, today we're going to find the instruction manual.
Let me just throw this at you. Let's take a look at Portuguese. How on earth can the word Rio mean river, but also I laugh? I mean, they're the exact same word. How is that even possible? Well, stick with me here, because by the end of this, you're not just going to have the answer. You're going to hold the secret code to unlock tons of other word mysteries just like it.
So this isn't some kind of word magic, right? It's actually a hidden system. See, words have all these relationships with each other, based on what they mean, how they sound, and of course, how they're spelled. And once you see the patterns, all those little tricks, they just kind of disappear, and the logic starts to shine right through.
Okay, so let's start with the stuff we all kind of remember from school. You know, the basics. Words can be like best friends, practically interchangeable, or they can be complete and total opposites. This is really the foundation for how we build meaning in the first place.
First up, we've got synonymy. You know, synonyms. Think of these as linguistic twins. They mean almost the exact same thing, and you can usually just swap one for the other in a sentence, and the core message doesn't really change at all.
And this is a perfect illustration of that. In Portuguese, you could say, que dia lindo, or you could say, que dia bonito. Both lindo and bonito mean beautiful. See? They're totally interchangeable. And the meaning, that it's a beautiful day, stays exactly the same. Simple enough, right?
Now, let's talk about the flip side, antonymy. If synonyms are twins, then antonyms are rivals. They are polar opposites. When you swap one of these for the other, you completely reverse the entire meaning of what you're trying to say.
For instance, saying está muito calor means it's very hot. But if you just swap caler for its antonym, frío, you get está muito frío, it's very cold. One little word swap, and you've gone from the beach to the Arctic. It's a completely different reality.
All right, so we've warmed up with the basics. You ready for the main event? Because this is where things get really interesting. This is where we dive into that relationship between how a word is spelled and how it actually sounds. This is where most of the confusion, and honestly, most of the fun really happens. And believe it or not, the secret to cracking this whole code is actually a super simple tool. It's just a grid, a little chart that maps a word's pronunciation against its spelling. With this one visual, we can finally start to organize all those tricky words that always try to trip us up. And here it is. This is our map. So on the one axis, we've got spelling, and on the other, pronunciation. This gives us four main relationships. Now, that bottom right box, different spelling and different pronunciation, well, that's just most words. So we can ignore that one for now. Let's focus on the other three, starting in that top left corner.
So let's start right there in the top left. Same pronunciation and same spelling. These are homonyms. I like to think of them as the ultimate word doppelgangers. They look identical, they sound identical, but they lead completely separate lives with totally different meanings.
And there it is, our big aha moment. Remember that puzzle from the beginning? Rio is a perfect homonym. In one sentence, it's a river. In the other, it's the verb, I laugh. Same spelling, same sound, but two completely unrelated meanings. And just like that, puzzle solved.
Okay, now let's slide over one box to the right on our grid. Here we find words that have the same pronunciation, but different spelling. These are homophones. You can think of these as auditory twins. They sound exactly the same when you say them, but when you see them on the page, they're clearly distinct.
A fantastic example of this is nause and nos. Say them out loud. They sound identical, right? But nause, spelled with a Z, means walnut, like in a cake, and nause, spelled with an S, means we. Your ears can't tell the difference, but your eyes can see it right there on the page.
All right, time for our final major category in the grid, homographs. And here, the whole situation is reversed. We've got the same spelling, but this time the pronunciation is different, and so is the meaning. These are the words that look exactly the same in a book, but they sound totally different when you say them out loud. Just look at the word seca. It's spelled identically, S-E-C-A, but in a roupa está seca, it's pronounced seca with a closed vowel sound, and it means dry. But in castigado pela seca, it's pronounced seca with a more open a sound, and it means drought. Listen again, seca versus seca.
It's a tiny shift in sound, but it creates a world of difference in meaning.
So, our grid is pretty neat, right? But what about those words that are just slippery? The ones that don't fit perfectly into a box, but are still super confusing? Well, meet the paronyms. I like to call them the tricky cousins. They aren't identical in spelling or sound, but they are so close that it's just incredibly easy to mix them up.
Oh man, this is a classic trip-up. Cumprimento with a U is a greeting, like saying hello or giving a handshake. But if you just change that U to an O, you get cumprimento, which means length, like a measurement. One little vowel and suddenly everything changes.
So you might be thinking, okay, this is cool, but why do we care about all these different NIMs and graphs? Well, because understanding them isn't just some fun linguistic game. It's a genuine communication superpower. It sharpens how you read, how you write, and how you speak every single day.
So why does this matter so much? Well, for one, your writing gets way sharper, and you avoid all those common mistakes. You start to communicate more clearly, more precisely. And if you're trying to learn a new language, oh man, spotting these patterns is a game changer. Plus, you'll finally get those clever jokes and puns that are all about wordplay. But really, at the end of the day, it just lets you appreciate the beautiful, hidden architecture of language itself.
And there you have it. You basically have the secret decoder ring now for some of the trickiest words out there. So I'll leave you with a question. Now that you can see these patterns everywhere, what's the most clever or confusing or maybe just funny word puzzle you've ever come across? Give it some thought. You'll probably start noticing them all over the place.